Hi, welcome back. Ant Ravenwood here from Hawthorn Grove. First of all, thank you to the people that have been subscribing to my little channel. Growing slowly but surely. I have one or two YouTubers who have been very influential to me and very helpful in giving me tips to get kind of started and build my site. So one of them in particular, a lady named Alvine from all the way from Australia, and I'd like to personally say hey Alvine and thank you. If you haven't come across Alvine's work, I'll put a link down below if I can. So hey, cool, well done, thank you. So today I was sitting here thinking, you know, what kind of things can I tell you about with my own personal experiences and journeying. I said in one of my previous videos that the term Wildwood mystic seems to sit quite nicely with me, because I take leaves out of hedge witchery, shamanism, druidry, various different paths like that. I take leaves out of their books and fuse them together, little pieces of the magic that seems to resonate with me and what works with me. I've mentioned before that I'm fortunate enough to have a group of trees that I go and visit in a forest not far from here, near where I grew up, and I thought that I would try and explain a little bit about the way the process of actually going to the grove and the way it makes you feel. If people out there are lucky enough or fortunate enough to be able to go to a specific area outside, it really is a different, it gives you a whole different feeling and emotion. At the moment, the way my life pattern goes, I go to the forest on at the beginning of the week, normally on a Monday. It just falls with the way the work is. I do seasonal work, so just falls with the way the work pattern has been going. And also my best mate lives about 3 or 4 miles from the forest where I go, so it's quite nice to go and chill out with him as well. So it normally happens on a Monday. Now I normally work with my friend in the daytime. It's like in the morning and stuff, and then if there is enough time in the afternoon, I take myself out and I purposely make time for myself to go into the forest. Every time I go there is different, as I've said in previous videos, and what actually happens is it's a forestry commission site, only a tiny wincy piece of the size that it once was, which is a shame. But so I'm driving down the road that I go to the car park cuts through the forest. It just trees either side, like a massive long avenue, right? So you're driving right down the middle of the forest. And the minute you leave the village and you go over a bridge and you start going into the trees, and you can kind of, the landscape changes, you know, your perception changes, and it's just like, oh, all of a sudden you're going down this avenue, you know, of nature, and I begin to kind of like feel a different kind of energy. It brings me down from where I've been working and trying to think, oh, you know, I've got to cut this piece of grass, or I've got to trim that, or I've got to paint this, or I've got to go and dig that, or I've got to go and whatever I have to do on that day. And I drive away, and once I've gone through the village and I see this avenue of trees, I'm kind of like, ooh, and all of a sudden things just start leaving. All this stuff that I've been thinking about, you know, oh, have I left the tools in the shed? Have I locked this up? Have I painted that? Have I put that away? It all just kind of starts, you know, imagine like a windy day in autumn and all the leaves are just going, and it's just kind of blowing things away out of my head. And by the time I get to the little car park, I don't know, I'm just okay. It's weird. It's like someone's just emptied a. You know when you've heard about when you're doing meditation and stuff, or you go on a shamanic journey, and they say, you know, you get to the edge of a forest, and there's a well, and you pour all your thoughts and all your day's rubbish into the well, and it clears your head. Yeah, it's a bit like that with me when I go into the forest, and I get to the car park. I stop the car, get out, and I get my kit on, coat, and I've got a staff that I always take with me, and my kit bag, which was a crane bag, but it's now more like a rucksack. You know, my kit that I've got with me, take some water, get my hat on, lock the car up, and I start walking down the footpath. And you have to kind of like cross the road again to get down into the footpath where I go. So once you've crossed the road and you start walking down the path into the forest, the atmosphere changes again. You know, you've gone from a village to an avenue of trees. You've been clearing your mind. You get to the car park, you leave the car, and you walk down the track, and it feels like you're going even deeper. You're moving away from the harshness of your everyday, and you're just going deeper and deeper and deeper into this other world, if you like, into this other plane. And then I leave the footpath, and I take a right, and I go right off into the wild. There's no path, but I know where I'm going. At that point, nearly always, it's like a little ritual thing that I do. I leave the path, and once I'm out of the public's view, because you get walkers, you get cyclists, you get joggers. Once you're off the track, the hair comes down. I don't know why, it just does. It's like, oh right, okay, hair down, hat still on. My vision seems to change, my perception changes. Smells, different smells, the atmosphere is damper, cooler, and all of a sudden you become part of the forest. You're a creature in the forest. You're not just a bloke walking down the street anymore, you know. That's the kind of way I perceive it, and I go down quite a way, past all the little things that I recognise, you know, the low branch here, and the stump there, and the thicket here, and and I get to know where everything is. I've been doing it for 11-12 years. So I go down, and then there's this really lovely great big long branch that's obviously fallen from a tree, but it's fallen into the branch of another tree, and it kind of hangs like that. Well, in fact, it kind of hangs like that because this end is very pointy, and it's almost like it's a big finger, it's a big signpost, you know. So you're going down this kind of like this little trail, if you like, and then you come to this great big branch, and it's doing that, and it takes you that way, and your eyes go that way, and you're walking down, and you get to a little brook, and you get down over the brook and up on the other side, and then you can start to see my space. And you go over to the space. By the time I'm over the little stream, and I can see my grove in front of me, I can't. It's a weird feeling, you know. It's very kind of refreshing, but it also it's almost kind of like you're not really yourself. Yeah, you just stopped thinking about all the crap that you have to think about in everyday life, and all you're thinking about is your sights and your sounds and your smells, and you're part of the forest. It's magical. It's magical. So I approach the grove, right, and there's this coppiced hazel tree, and one of the branches of the hazel goes quite low over, and it's the first tree I come to in the grove, and it's in the west. So I enter my grove from the west, which is rather lovely. But I do a little thing with my staff, and I hold my staff. Haven't got a stick handy. I hold my staff like a I don't know, like some kind of secure sort of pole, and I turn it like you would turn a door handle. Yeah, so I've got it in my hands and I turn it like that, and I make a movement that I'm opening the door, so I'm letting myself in. Yeah, I kiss the bough of the hazel, always just hey, hi, connect. And then I turn back round to where I've just walked through, and I stake my staff down on the floor as a kind of like a locked in sort of, hey, I'm here, that kind of thing. That's every time. And then when I leave the Grove at the end of the session, whatever I'm doing, I do the same thing, but in kind of like in a reverse. So I go up to the bough of the hazel, and I walk through, and I have my staff, and I turn it with the shins, so I'm locking it, and then I'll boff straight into the ground again, kiss the bough of the hazel, job done, make my way back through the forest. Just little things like that, and when you're in the Grove, once you've opened your circle. I mean, I do other things as well to open the circle. I protect myself, and I go around the Grove and all the rest of it. Could babble on about that in another video. But I always do this little thing about this gateway. It's always this gateway thing with me, and it's almost like you're letting yourself into a little room of your own, and you're safe in there while you're doing your work, and then you're unlocking and letting yourself out at the end of it. Something, a little touch that I've just felt. I just started to do. Nothing. I didn't read it in a book and go, oh yeah, when I get there I've got to do this. I got there, and it wasn't long after I'd found my staff that I take with me every time now, that I suddenly started using it. Yeah, and I thought, what? It just come to me. I just did it. I didn't really think about it, and now I feel like I do it every time. And if I don't do it, it feels like it's not really right. I don't have the same kind of feeling, the same kind of vibe. So anyway, if you have got a specific place or a tree or an area or a field or a river or anything that you particularly go to for your retreat or for your work, spiritual work or whatever, do you do anything like that? Have you created anything, any kind of ritualistic stuff? Do you feel any different as you're approaching, your area? You do something crazy like let your hair down and just go, oh, this is better. And vice versa when I'm leaving the forest, by the way, I seem to kind of like revert back, and your feelings are changing, and you're going back. By the time you got back to the car, you're starting to think about, oh, I've got to drive back to my mates, and it all comes back, and it's a strange feeling. So if you get anything like that, if you're lucky enough to go to a place, a retreat somewhere, got any little quirks, anything that you've developed yourself, or something that's just come to you and you've not really thought about it, drop us a line. Let's have a little chat. If you've not been on my website yet, I've had a little bit more space brought into the website, so I'm going to be developing it, hopefully. I do things in pagan time, so it might not happen straight away. But hawthorngrove.moonfruit.com. It's a moonfruit site, so hawthorngrove.moonfruit.com. You can find me on Facebook, Hawthorn Grove. You can find me on Twitter, Hawthorn Grove, and Instagram, Hawthorn_Grove. Okay, so drop me a line, spread the word, go and say hi, and yeah, let's do a bit of chatting. Until the next time, love and blessings. Thank you for joining me, and take care. Blessed be.